They talk, and they talk, and they talk, right? A lot. So you have to be able to say, you know what? I have to listen. I want to see, what is it that he's saying? Or what is it that she's talking about? Because something is apparently very important to him or her. Because otherwise they wouldn't be talking. They don't just talk about foolish things. They talk about what's important to them. But in my busyness, I may not think it's important. In my busyness, I may not think, why do I have to waste time on this? Why? Because if you're going to watch TV, turn off the TV and listen to your children. Turn off the TV and make time for your children. Because if they see you doing that, then they will know that even when my father was very busy and very stressed and sitting in traffic, when he needed downtime, he chose to spend it with the family, listening to us and not telling us, go away. It's just me and my remote. Right? Especially fathers I'm talking to who love sports. I myself love sports. But a typical match of any kind is 90 minutes. If it goes into overtime, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And if you're watching this cricket business, it's like 3 to 12 hours. And I say to you, what? Think about this. Watch a little bit of it with your children, a little bit of it. Make sure the commercials are watching them. There's a lot of filth on there. But if you want to watch a little bit, maybe as a bonding time. I'm not saying don't do it, even with your daughters. But what's better and smarter use of time is to watch the highlights in the news, because they give you all the best plays and the score, and you're done in 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, you know everything that happened with all of the sports you ever wanted to know. You don't have to wait for 5 hours for him to make one catch in cricket, and you know it took 5 hours to make. You just watch it in one highlight. Why? The children will appreciate that you actually made time to listen, and you didn't spend it watching the sports. Number 8, volunteer. As I said before, serve Allah, serve the community, and have your children with them. The worst thing many of us do is we live several lives. We live the work life, because of course we cannot take our children to work. And then we live the masjid life. Oftentimes when I talk to a brother, he says, I'm having trouble with my family, I really don't have a relationship with them. And it's very late, it's after Isha, and we're still in the masjid. And I say, brother, if you're having trouble with your family, why are you here in the masjid after Isha? You should be at home with the family, where you can talk about the issues, where you can address the issues. So we have several lives. I'm saying that if we want to volunteer, come to the masjid, spend time in the masjid, bring our children with them. I've changed the diapers of all of my children ever since they were born, because if I learned this, then my wife was independent of them. I could take them wherever and keep them with me, and there was no issue. There was no issue. No problem whatsoever. If we do this, then they can be with us, and especially the fathers. Believe me, the children love to spend time with us, so why not volunteer and serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with them. Number 9, to help the children to set and to plan and to achieve the goals that they have in mind. The worst thing we can do is say to the children, or use our children to live our unfinished dreams through them. Do you know what I'm talking about? I always wanted to be a doctor, but when I came to America, things were busy and I couldn't become a doctor. You are going to become a doctor. And the child says, I faint when I see blood. I can possibly not be a doctor. I faint when I see blood. No, it was my dream. No. We should say to them, what do you like to do? What makes you happy? What interests you? What are you good at doing? Talk to them. Help them achieve small goals, and don't minimize or laugh at whatever goals they say. The worst thing fathers can do, because children love and look up to their fathers a lot. The worst thing fathers can do is say to them, you will never be such and such, or that is not something you can ever do. Worst thing we can do. Instead, we should say, if that's what you would like to do, let's talk about it, and let's see how we can help you get it done. Of course, something pleasing to Allah. I'm not saying something that they want to do displeasing to Allah, but whatever pleasing to Allah. Very important, because this makes for a family that's loving and welcoming of new ideas. Welcome, and I tell you, I know as growing up myself as a son of Indian immigrants who stereotypically would want the best for their children to become either a doctor, an engineer, right? And so in my case, I was very influenced by that, and so I chose biomedical engineering, because the medicine was for my mother and the engineering was for my father. But as I was doing the degree, everybody who talked to me, they said, man, you have a much better way to deal with people. This engineering, you're going to work with machines. So why don't you go and do something that you can work with people? And imagine talking to my parents about switching my major after getting the degree. But I got the degree, I gave it to them, I said, I think you wanted this. You wanted a biomedical engineering degree. So here it is, I'm going to go get my master's in social work. It wasn't that easy, of course, but it's not impossible. We have to talk to each other and help each other to achieve those goals. And then number 10, and lastly, and inshallah we can have some time for questions and answers, is to check in and check out on the children. You know, now mashallah we have the ability of technology. There's no way you can be on earth that you can't at least make a phone call home to say, how are you doing? To say, what's going on with you? And talk to every child. Even if you're to say salam for a fraction of a second, you don't have much time, make sure you talk to every child, because sometimes we prefer children over other children. And the Prophet ﷺ also advised against this when a man came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, I gave such and such of a gift to this child. He said, do you also have another child? He said, yes. Give him something equivalent or similar to what you gave. The preference often becomes for the girls above the boys above the girls. No. When we check in and check up on everyone. And subhanAllah, this is something amazing, because the voice of the father, that I told you, is the one they hear right from birth. And one thing I tell the fathers, no matter what you do, how bad you think your voice is lovely to your children. Your voice is lovely to your children. No matter, you may not perform in the community and recite out loud or sing naat or nasheed, because in public you think, oh, they will laugh at me. But to your children, that's all they know. When they're born, that's all they know. So I recommend to you to hold them and recite Quran before they're sleeping. I recommend to you to hold them and pray, and I can show you, help you to practice how to pray while holding the children. So when you put them down in sujood, put them in a way that your heart is actually over them as you're reciting dua and your id salah. Hold them and sing to them the best of songs and the nasheed and the naat, so that they hear your voice. And subhanAllah, I used to do this, and I recommended in the early days to all of the young brothers that having children. And I realized the value of this because I was traveling a lot and I wasn't home. SubhanAllah, one time I was in California at a conference, and my wife was stuck with Omar in a traffic jam. Not stuck with Omar, but stuck in a traffic jam with our son Omar. And he was crying. And she was having a difficult time, and she didn't know what to do, so she called me. SubhanAllah, I said, put it on speakerphone. And she put it on speakerphone, and I picked up exactly as if I was at home, because he knew the voice. And subhanAllah, in trying to connect with the voice, he calmed down. From 3,000 miles away, he was able to calm down. Think about what the value of this means. Check in on the children, let them know that your voice is there, even if you're not physically able to be there. Write to them, email them if they're old enough now, and subhanAllah, they will be able to understand the value you give to that. And in checking up on them, ask for feedback. I'm going to close with this, but it will shock you. Muhasabah is a part of Islam. In everything we do. Muhasabah, the accounting, in everything we do, in our work, but we never talk about it in the family. In America, we should be able to say to our children, my son or daughter. You can do it quarterly, you can do it every 6 months, you can do it every Ramadan, however you want to do it. Every month, every week, if you're really very strong in your personality and ego, you say to the children, how am I doing as your father? Oh, subhanAllah. How am I doing as your father? Am I doing okay? How can I get better? And they, if they're American kids, they will tell you, yeah, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you should do this better. They may even have a PowerPoint presentation. They said, you have a minute, sit down, I'll show you how you can improve. Right? And they will do it. Why do I say that? It's because the last thing we want, we have too many lives from the previous generations where the people say to me, to this day I have brothers and sisters saying to me, SubhanAllah, I never had a relationship with my father. And I wanted to say so much to him and he died. And I could never even say what I wanted to say. So I'm saying, why not ask them? And they may say, I love when you do this, I love when you do that, but can you please not do this? Or can you please do this better, or do more of this? And we have to be ready to make those improvements. So, inshallah, I'll stop there, and I thank you for your attention. I truly want to say to you, fatherhood is a beautiful thing. That's why we want to celebrate it. That's why we know we don't just do, as the Muslim kids know, we don't just have one day Father's Day. Every day is Father's Day.